This is an introduction to Adobe Illustrator. So to open the program, what you're going to do is go down here to your Windows Start button and click, and then you're going to open Adobe Illustrator right here. So you'll click this, and when you open it, it will look like this. Okay, shows any old files that you might have made. And what we're going to do right now is open a new one. So you're going to click this blue button that says New File. And these are just different sizes for your artboard. So we'll click the print one that's 8.5 by 11. That's just the size of a regular sheet of paper. That's fine. And when you open it up, it should look something like this, okay? You should have your basic toolbar over here on the side to the left. And then to the right, you should have your Properties tab. And these will change what you see here depending on which tool you have selected over on the left. If either of these is not showing, you're going to click Window, and then these are all kinds of different things that you can edit with. And what we need right now is toolbars, basic. So if yours wasn't showing, this is how you open your toolbar. And if your properties tab wasn't open, you go down here and open properties. Okay. In the middle is what's called your artboard, and this is what will print in the end. So as you're working, you can put things on here, or you can put them over on the black area, or either way is fine. So let's start going through the tools. The first thing I want to show you is the shapes. Okay, so if you look at the fifth tool down, you'll see a rectangle, and I haven't clicked anything. By just hovering over the tool, it shows me a little video of how that tool is used. So this one is used to draw shapes. I'm going to right click on it, and you can see that underneath, since there's this little white arrow, there are several different shapes you can use. So right now I'd like you to go ahead and try one of each. So I'm going to click rectangle, and I didn't click it. I'm going to click rectangle and draw a rectangle. Then I'm going to right click on the tool, choose the ellipse, and make an oval. If I hold down Shift while I drag it, I'll make a perfect circle. It's the same with the square and the rectangle. Then you're going to do a polygon. And when I go to drag it, before I let go, if I press up or down on my keyboard, I can change the number of sides that are showing on the polygon. So go ahead and do that. To move it, I'm going to click the black arrow and move it back onto my artboard so you can see it. And then I'm going to make a star. And same as the polygon, when you go to draw your star, if you press up or down on your keyboard, you can make however many points to the star you want. Okay. The black arrow is what you're going to use anytime you're moving in a whole shape, which is what we're doing right now. Okay. So that's how you make basic shapes that have, names like a pentagon or a star. To make shapes that don't have names, that are more free form, you're going to use two other tools, the pen tool and the pencil tool. Let's do the pen tool first. That is the one that looks like an old-fashioned pen tip, like the time you might actually dip into ink. And if I hover over it, it shows me how I can use it to make curvy lines or straight lines. Okay, so go ahead and click. And what we're going to do is first, you're going to make some sort of shape that has all straight edges. So I'm going to click and click and click and make some sort of shape. And then it's important every single time you make a shape to close it in the end. So I'm going to hover over the beginning, and notice how that little zero or that circle appeared next to my pin. Okay, I hovered over the first anchor, and if I click, the line next to my pin goes away and I have completed a shape. Okay, so the next thing I want you to try to do is click and then click and drag your pen tool and handlebars appear. These won't show in the end, but what they're doing is telling the vector how to sort of emerge from the anchor point. So drag them and let go and then see how my line is still there. I haven't closed my shape yet. And then I'm going to click and I'm going to have you make a blob shape right now of your choice. And then when you're done, you're going to hover over that very first anchor point you made so that the zero appears next to the pen tool and click to close. The next thing I want to show you is the pencil tool. It's underneath the paintbrush tool. Okay, and this is really good for drawing freeform shapes. This is if you're good at drawing, you'll kind of use this more. All right, if you're not amazing at drawing, you'll kind of use these other tools that make it a little bit easier. So now I'm going to use the pen tool to make, maybe I'll make like a duck shape. Okay, here's my bird that I'm just drawing a really general shape. Like always, I'm hovering over the beginning of my line and that little circle appears next to the pencil tool to close my shape. You always want to have your shapes closed. It'll make your life a lot more difficult later when you're making complicated images if you don't close your shapes. Every shape should be closed. Okay? So this is several different ways of making beginning shapes. Now I want to show you how to edit your shapes. To edit shapes, you are going to be changing where the anchor points are and how the handlebars come out of the anchor points. To do that, we're going to use the white arrow. Okay, so on any shape you want, you're going to click it with the white arrow. So since I clicked in the middle of a path, not an anchor point, you'll notice that the two handlebars near where I clicked appeared and none of my anchor points are selected. They're filled with white and they have a blue outline. To move one anchor point, I can click it and notice how now it is filled in with blue. And what I can do is grab it and move it around with my white arrow. And I can also use my white arrow to move the handlebars to change my shape to whatever I might want it to be. The other thing that you can do to move shapes and edit your shapes is you can right click on the pen tool and underneath of it is the anchor point tool. And this is really nice because it lets you grab a path and move it. And it also, I really like it because it lets you grab a straight path and make it curvy. Okay, so say I wanted this pentagon to be sort of angled in, I could do this with the anchor point tool. The other thing it does is say I wanted to have handlebars in a place where there weren't any, I could grab an anchor and it lets me add handlebars and curve a corner that was not previously curved. So try that. Now, all together, we are going to make a flower. Okay, so what I'd like you to do is use one of the tools, whichever one you prefer. I'm going to use my pencil tool, and you're going to make a petal. Okay, so I'm going to draw an imperfect flower petal. And then, again, I'm going to make sure the shape is closed. Then I'm going to copy and paste it several times and to arrange it to make a flower. So to do that, since I'm changing the whole thing, I'm going to use my black arrow and I'm going to right click and I'm going to copy. Then I'm going to click away, right click, paste, and I have another copy of this. With it selected with the black arrow, if I hover outside the corner, this curvy arrow with 2 points appears, and that's my rotation button. So I can click that, And maybe I want the tips, maybe I want my flower to be more like this. Okay, then I'm going to paste again. If you know the shortcuts, Control C and Control V, you're welcome to use those. Right click, paste. Let's see, I'll do 2 more. Okay, now I have my flower. I don't know what kind of flower it is. And let's see, I'll move some of these shapes out of the way. Okay, now I'm going to select the whole thing so I have my black arrow and I drew around a box around all the shapes I wanted to select. And now I'm going to group them. So you can click group here on this little box that appeared. You can click group down here under properties, or I can right click on it and hit click group here. Any of those ways are fine. Okay. Now I'm going to color these in. So if I select this, over here under my properties tab, we have appearance and we have fill and stroke. Okay, you're never going to be coloring things in the way you would with a paintbrush in other programs. Okay, you're always going to be, to color things in, you're going to be using fill and stroke. So I'm going to click the fill box and choose a fill. The diagonal red line means transparent. That means no fill. Okay, so I'm going to choose maybe light blue. It doesn't really matter. Then I'm going to choose a stroke. Okay, I'm going to choose yellow. And right now, let me choose a color you can see better. How about red? Okay, so you can see over here right now, if I click, there's a thin red line. If I want it to be thicker, I'll select this again. And over here next to stroke, there's something that says 1 point. I'm going to increase that, and that's the stroke thickness right here. Okay. If I wanted to make it a little bit see-through, I could change my opacity and notice how that makes the entire shape a little bit see-through. Okay, that's what opacity is, transparency. I'm going to leave it 100% though. The other thing that I want to show you is if you wanted to do a gradient. So I'm going to click fill. I like to start with existing gradients. So I'm going to choose this orange and yellow and see how that appeared inside each shape. If you wanted to change it, you could click the gradient button over here on the toolbar, and then notice how under properties, these other gradient options appeared. And also you'll notice that on my flower, for every single shape, these gradient options appear for the colors you can click. So if you wanted to change the colors, you could click over here. So I could double click this yellow and make it green, for example, and part of my gradient changed on my flower. The other thing you can do, if you click back, over here is I can make it a radial gradient where it's like starts in the center as opposed to going in a straight line, or freeform gradient lets you add random dots in random places that makes it kind of like a like tie-dye or something. So you're welcome to play with those. Now we're going to copy and paste this, and I want to show you a way of combining shapes. I'm going to make this a little smaller so that you can see it. And I'm going to copy the entire flower and paste. And now we have two of the exact same thing. So the difference that it's going to be is your strokes. So notice how right now there's a stroke outlining every single petal. Say I don't want that. Say I only want the stroke around the outside. What you can do is click it and it's grouped so it all selects at once. And then I'm going to go over here on my toolbar, and there's two different size circles and a little arrow. So hover over the one that looks like this, and it's called Shape Builder. And again, if I hover without clicking, I can watch a little video that shows me how to use it. So I'm going to click this, and my shape is already selected. And then I'm just going to click and drag over every single shape that's in here till all those little red outlines disappear. And when I let go, oh, it looks like I missed one. It has automatically combined all those shapes into one. There's tons of other things you can do with Illustrator. This is a professional program that has 1,000 options, but these are a good way of starting to create vector shapes and images. And what you can do now is layer up your details. You know, I could take, say I wanted a center of this circle on top of my petals. What I would do, because right now, look, this is underneath, I would right click and I'm going to change my arrangement. I'm going to arrange, bring to front, and I'm going to put this circle, I'm going to make it smaller and put this over the center of my flower, and maybe I'll fill it with blue and make it no, I don't want that one. I'm going to fill it with this and make it radial. And then maybe I'll change my colors by clicking here to whatever colors I want. Okay, so as you're making designs, and I don't want to stroke on that, so I'll click here and this. As you're making designs in Illustrator, you want every single detail to be its own separate shape sitting on top of other shapes, okay? And then you can always click around and edit things really easily. The only time you should have lines, and that's when you use like the paintbrush tool, the only time you have lines should be if you're adding one tiny little line as a final thing on top. Like say if I wanted to add details like this to my flower or whatever, okay? Anything that's filled with color should always be its own shape. I hope this helps. Good luck.